Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If you have been here before, bit of a different setting, as obviously the title of this video, I am in America, so bear with the audio, I do not have my microphone on me. So on Monday the 2nd of May, I travelled from the UK to the US with a COVID-19 recovery certificate. So in this video, I'm just going to talk to you about what is required, my personal experience, and I did film every part of the bits that were checked, so I will also show you that and talk you through everything that happened. Now things will differ depending on what airline you're flying. I flew with Virgin Atlantic, so this is my experience with them. A lot of things will be the same. I will be making another video more specific to flying with Virgin, which will be out later this week, and also a video on my personal experience in general travelling to the US during COVID times. So with that, let's get on to the video. So first, let's start with what you actually need to get into America. So, to enter America, you need to be fully vaccinated and then either take a negative test or show proof of recovery, and finally you have to complete the attestation form. So let's go into detail on this proof of recovery, because for the US it is different to many other places and there is something extra that is required. So, for proof of recovery, you must have tested positive within the last 90 days. You must have your positive test result. This can be from a PCR or an antigen test. On top of this, you will need a signed letter from a licensed healthcare provider or a public health official that states you have been cleared for travel according to the CDC's travel guidance. So this positive test and the letter together are referred to as documentation of recovery. So this letter that you need, this extra part of proof of recovery, is what makes travelling to America with proof of recovery confusing and a little bit more challenging for certain people. So with this, you have two options. You can first off either reach out to your GP or doctor and ask if they will provide this letter for you. But just bear in mind, from what I've heard and speaking to my local GP, they do charge for this service. Most charge between £60 and £100. A very few do it for free, so it is worth asking, but mine wanted £75. And then your other option is to do what I did and go down the private recovery certificate route. So this way you basically have to purchase a private recovery certificate from a private provider. So the information on this certificate or letter must include your name and date of birth and match your passport details. It must also state that you have recovered, and it must be signed and dated and contain the name, address and phone number of the healthcare provider or health official who signed the letter. So who did I use? I used a company called the Healthify. You can visit their site up here. If you haven't seen it already, I have made a separate video on how to get a recovery certificate, and I used this company, so you can check that out. I'll link it down below. It's definitely helpful if you're looking at this option. But why did I personally choose this company? So I came across this company and it was one of the cheapest companies out there that offer private recovery certificates, and it's also one of the ones that is actually reliable. So talking through the prices really quickly, one certificate is £49. And what I really like about this company is the more you need, the cheaper it gets. So if you need 2 recovery certificates, it's £79. And get this, if you need 4 recovery certificates, then it's only £99, which is brilliant if you're travelling in a group or a family and you've all recently recovered from COVID-19. So this is the route that me and my family went down since we all tested positive last month. So this is what you get. This is the certificate. It contains all the information that you need that is required by the US. It says that you've recovered, and at the bottom it's signed and it has all the details of the company and GP provided. Now I know going down the testing route and taking the negative test the day before might be a lot more suitable for people, or even cheaper for some. However, going down the recovery route obviously removes that stress and worry. You don't have to worry about booking one, you don't have to worry about the process or any of the timings, And obviously you don't have to worry about testing positive because you don't have to take the test, so you can't test positive, so your trip will go ahead as planned. For some, it can work out cheaper depending on what testing options you're looking at or if you're traveling multiple times. For me, this worked out cheaper because obviously I've just traveled to the US and then in a couple of weeks I'm transiting through the US. So I would have needed 2 tests for each of my family. But if we just have a recovery certificate each, then we don't have to worry about taking a test each time, and it's cheaper than having to take 2 tests and everything else with it. So like I said, for some people, if you're traveling multiple times or if you're worried about the test, then the recovery certificate route might be the better option for you. So let's get on to actually flying with one. So before you fly, you must complete what's called an attestation form. So some airlines let you do this online. A lot of them attach it to the check-in process. Virgin gave me this option and attached it with the check-in. However, with Virgin, there was no option to select travel with a recovery certificate. I will go into a lot more detail on this on my other video, but if you're worried if there's no option to complete the attestation form online with the airline you're flying with, or if you're worried that it doesn't offer you that recovery certificate option, then you can print this out online off the CDC website, and I will link it below too. It's about 7 pages long, but you only really have to tick 2 boxes and sign the bottom. So you're just going to tick that you've recently recovered from COVID-19 and that you're fully vaccinated. And then obviously you will have to bring that with you. So now let's move on to when you actually get to the airport. So as I was entering the queue at check-in, the lady asked me if I completed the attestation form online. I said I did, however it didn't give me the option for a recovery certificate as I'm travelling with proof of recovery. She then said that I needed the paper version and to tick the box that I was recovered from COVID-19. I just informed her that I already had done that and I had it with me, and she let me move on into the queue. The queue, obviously this varies for different airlines, but for me the queue was quite long, so definitely make sure you leave yourself plenty of time. As I got towards the front, they were checking the COVID documents in the queue just to try and speed the process up. So I like to be organised, so I printed everything out. I just find it easier to give things to people rather than search on my phone multiple different things and then having to find another document. And obviously if like a system goes down, like the NHS website doesn't work, then you have it printed out in front of you anyway. You can show it on your phone, it's just personal preference, but I just prefer to have everything printed. So first of all, she checked my vaccination records. She didn't scan the QR code or anything, she just read it over, looked at the dates. I then handed her my recovery certificate from the Healthify. And she checked it through very thoroughly and was like checking each part, reading everything. But it was all good. She said, yeah, that's okay. And then I showed her my positive test, which I just printed off the email that I got from the NHS when I registered my positive lateral flow. Once she read that it was positive and the dates matched, she then signed off on it and gave me a sticker on the back of my passport, which just states that my documents have been checked and I have been cleared to travel. And she let me continue on to the desk. So at the desk, I just handed over my passport and it was just like normal. She didn't ask to see any of my COVID-19 documentation, literally just my passport. She checked me in, and then the only thing she did ask was if I had completed the attestation form online, and so I then explained that I did, but I was travelling with proof of recovery, so I had it printed out as well. And in that time, like, I guess the system loaded and she was like, oh no, it says you signed it online, so that's okay, you're good to go. She handed my passport back with my boarding pass, and that was it. Time to go through security. Security was pretty easy, but the check-in process and going through security took me about an hour, so like I said, just leave yourself plenty of time. When I got to the gate, they didn't ask to see any COVID documentation, it was just passport and boarding pass. So that was all very easy, and then it was time to get back flying. So once in America, specifically JFK, I flew to JFK airport, but most processes are the same. Again, no COVID documents were required, nothing was checked. You just go through customs as you would, like normal. This took me about 40 minutes, it was quite long, but like I said, there was no COVID documents that were checked. It was just passports and visas and their usual questions, fingerprints, pictures. And that was it. Welcome to America. So honestly, I was very impressed at how easy and simple the process was, and that they only checked my COVID-19 stuff at check-in. I was expecting it to be quite challenging with a recovery certificate because they make it out online to be quite confusing, and I know not many people do it. So I thought check-in might be a bit confused and things like that, but they weren't. They'd clearly been told about it. They knew everything that had to be on it, and like I said, she checked it very thoroughly. So I mean, Virgin were clearly prepared for that. I can't obviously talk about other airlines, but other airlines should also be very similar. I would definitely recommend using the Healthify to get a private recovery certificate. And that was pretty much it for my trip. As always, any questions, feel free to ask them down below in the comments, or you can reach out to me on any of my social medias. If this video helped, I would really appreciate it if you could give it a like and you could subscribe. Thank you all for watching, stay safe and happy travelling!